Welcome to Friday across the Streamiverse. I'm Joel D, and the place to be, and that is with you right now on YouTube. Make sure you set those notifications. You can get this going, boom, as soon as we are on the air, and then you get to join us and see what's going on. It is Friday, so welcome to Friday. Happy Friday. If it is a payday for you, congrats on that as well. Here's what we have coming up. I didn't do my normal thing where I give you these awesome, unique kind of layouts. This is just exactly what's happening. We're giving it to you very specifically, and we're just going to get right to it. So I'm going to start with Miss Elise Person. So she's in Chambersburg covering something that I don't know a lot about. So we're going to learn this along with you, everybody. It's a shooting in Chambersburg. Unfortunately, I hear this involves some kids on this one as well. Elise, fill us in.
Yeah, I mean, a true tragedy here, Joel. A 12-year-old is in the hospital tonight suffering a gunshot wound to the head. What we know so far is that police responded to, a home around 6:30 last night with, like I said, a 12-year-old enduring a gunshot wound. But as of right now, we don't know who pulled the trigger. There were 3 other juveniles in the house. We don't know their age. We don't know their relation to one another. But a 20-year-old came to the home bringing a loaded gun, left it on the counter, and the kids were playing with it, according to court documents. And that's when the gun went off. I will say, though, that individual, the 20-year-old, he is in prison right now, but he's not facing any assault charges, no attempted murder charges. It's more so endangering the welfare of children. So one could assume that he did not pull the trigger, but police tell us they're still investigating this.
Right. I mean, you could increase those charges at any point once you have the person.
Exactly. So, still a lot to be discussed. I spoke with the acting police chief here in Chambersburg today, asking if they would go on camera, give us a little bit more details about what happened here. And she told us, it's just too early in the investigation for us to share any more details. But I will note I was in the neighborhood where this all happened last night, and I saw some things that I haven't seen before, in my years of covering shootings. There was a trash bag with gloves on the outsides of it, surgical gloves, blue surgical gloves, kind of sporadically across the front doorstep. I haven't seen that before in covering different shootings. Now, that's not to say that has anything to do with the shooting, right? But, EMS crews were just at the scene last night for, a gunshot wound to the head. So pretty interesting there.
Okay, it's a detail. We'll see if that matters, but I appreciate you bringing that up as well. All right, we'll look forward to seeing you on the air, and have a good weekend as well. Thanks, Elise Person.
Thank you.
Folks, you up in the Cash for Kids scandal? This happened a number of years ago, back in 2011. Luzerne County Judge Michael Conahan, former Judge Mark Ciavarella, convicted of sending kids to jail and then getting kickbacks for doing that. So basically, over sending the kids to jail for these for-profit jails. There's the story that's on our website. The big story today with this, once again, I told you this happened in 2011. Is that Joe Biden, in this flurry of pardons and commutations, has included this person. We're talking about Judge Mark, no, not Judge Mark, Judge Michael Conahan, as being commuted with the sentence. So it was a 28-year sentence that was handed down in 2011, 6 years left on it, but now that's been commuted. So that part's gone. So that person will be able to walk free. And here's the controversy. It's like, let's step back. The controversy with commutations, which means ending sentences, and with pardons, which means absolutely like reversing the decision or preemptively pardoning, saying you're okay for this time period and no matter what you did, it really undercuts the process, right? People go through a lot of time and effort to put together a case. Juries sit through this, judges rule on this, and then it's undercut by one person, whether it be a governor or a president. So our governor, Josh Shapiro, says that he handles these things very specifically and honorably, and he looks at this stuff and he cares. So that's why he, in particular, was really upset by what he saw by this commutation by the president. Here's some of his reaction.
I do feel strongly that President Biden got it absolutely wrong and created a lot of pain here in northeastern Pennsylvania. This was not only a black eye on the community, the Kids for Cash scandal, but it also affected families in really deep and profound and sad ways. Some children took their lives because of this. Families were torn apart. There was all kind of mental health issues and anguish that came as a result of these corrupt judges. deciding they wanted to make a buck off a kid's back. Frankly, I thought the sentence.
So he said at the time, he thought that sentence, 28 years, was too light. So of course he thinks that they should have served whatever time they did get for that. So a rare time that you're going to see the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania disagree with the Democratic president of the United States in Joe Biden. But these pardons, these commutations can be very, very controversial. And we'll probably get a lot more of them before the time is up for Joe Biden in about a month from now. All right, let's move on to this one. Of course, you know about what happened with the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, who was killed in cold blood. The main suspect is Luigi Mangione, who said he was doing it because of the problems in the healthcare system and how, the denial of coverage and things like that. So kind of a means to an end. Well, now it looks like we might have a copycat of some sort. You're looking right now at our web story. A Florida woman been charged after allegedly threatening a healthcare company using a phrase eerily similar to the one we just heard about from Mangione and Brian Thompson being the victim. So according to the arrest affidavit, Lakeland police officers were contacted by the FBI Tuesday over an alleged threat made by 42-year-old, there she is, Brianna Boston. So Boston reportedly called BlueCross BlueShield after a recent insurance claim was denied. Phone call, she was recorded by the police, or given to the FBI by the police. During the call, apparently she said, "Delay, deny, depose. You people are next." So allegedly, those were the words that were written on the shell casings that were used to kill that CEO, Brian Thompson. It goes back to a book that was written years ago about how the healthcare industry makes its money by delaying, denying, and eventually deposing and getting big profits in the meantime. So that catchphrase has come back. This woman, and once again, this was just a phone message or a phone call, and she could get a lot of time for this. We'll see how this goes in the future, but she's already been arrested for this. She's been detained with bail set at $100,000. So they're taking this stuff very seriously. If it's a copycat situation, this is much different than obviously pulling the trigger, but it is a threat, and these threats are being taken seriously. So I know a lot of us get frustrated at times, but going to this level, keep in mind there are consequences for stuff like this, especially in this atmosphere. All right, speaking of atmosphere, let's look up a little bit, because if you've seen the lights in the sky, they're not all stars. Some are drones, but are they? Are some manned aircraft? The White House says it's a lot of manned aircraft out there. So in New Jersey or even in Central PA, if you're seeing this stuff in the air, maybe it's not what you think it is. We've been kicking this around a lot in the newsroom. I wanted to bring in our resident expert, and that is a person who has had to go through training, had to go to college for a quick course on this to become a trained drone pilot in our fleet. And that is Commander Ed Russo right here of the Skyview 21 fleet. So
I like that, commander, as opposed to chief drone pilot. Commander.
He's chief drone pilot. I upgraded him for a second. But let's take this seriously. I mean, you know the rules about where you're supposed to be in the air. Not to say that everyone's obeying these rules, but I want to get your trained eye on some of this stuff. You've been following this stuff on social media. You've heard what the White House has said about this, even the DOD involved. What do you think is happening here based on what you know and your extra knowledge on drones that a lot of us don't have?
Well, I mean, a lot of the video that you're seeing is of what looks to be drones. And from the video itself, there's nothing seemingly malicious about what I'm looking at. Of course, there could be drones that are causing some sort of privacy concerns, recording someone's, property without their consent. And that's something everybody worries about with drone technology. But the maneuvering that I'm seeing in these videos, I mean, you're allowed to fly at night. You're allowed to, one thing I did see was drones flying over moving traffic. So that is not legal. You can't fly over moving vehicles. That's an FAA regulation. And some of these videos, I have seen that. But aside from that, I've seen, the drones are low flying, but by design, drones can only go up 400 feet legally in the atmosphere.
What about some people are seeing a group together, they say?
So whenever you see those drone shows that do all that choreography, those are groups of drones doing all this stuff to make a beautiful picture. Obviously, they're much smaller drones. What I'm seeing in this video, they're much larger. And obviously, the skies look somewhat crowded. So that's what's really unusual here is we're seeing a lot of these larger drones Sometimes people are seeing them 3, 5, even 7 drones at a time, large drones flying in the same general area. So
Well,
to
and let
me,
me
that
ask you this.
is odd. That is odd. I really haven't seen that
All
very
right,
often.
use your big brain and your creativity to answer this question. Why would you fly at night?
So a lot of times you fly at night just because you have a totally different scene during the day. There are, like when you get a cityscape, especially with drones that have night vision enabled, you can get a really, really cool picture, especially a drone with long exposure settings that are flying near sunset, sunrise. So you can get some really, really great pictures and often pick up some light that the naked eye can't see. So it's definitely a different perspective you get at night. I know that there are surveying situations, land mapping, where drones can be used at night. But
Okay.
when you're looking at the video there, it certainly looks ominous to see so many of these large drones flying in the same general area. But I will say there's nothing illegal about multiple drones flying in the same general area.
Okay.
We here at CBS 21, when we take our drone up to film a story, if there's another drone nearby, it's our responsibility to talk to that pilot if we're going to be sharing airspace with them.
But how do you know where they are? You guys could be pretty far away from each other.
Well, yeah, you got to look for the pilot, and sometimes we have visual observers here at CBS 21, which is basically they're part of the flight crew that looks out for obstacles, looks out for possible dangers. So before we launch, we're always scanning the sky to see if there's other drone activity, because obviously we don't want a mid-air collision and we don't want to interfere with their activity. But everybody, recreational pilots, professional pilots, are allowed to fly at night. There are more restrictions for recreational pilots because to become Part 107 or FAA certified, you have to go through more rigorous testing. But you can fly in restricted airspace even as a recreational pilot, but you have to obtain a waiver from the FAA. So even some of these drones that may not be flown by a professional pilot, they may actually have a waiver to actually fly in that location.
But if they
it's
did,
restricted airspace.
all right. I doubt that's the case, because if that was the case, it would be really easy for whatever jurisdiction that is to come out and say, "Oh, this is what it is. We know what this is."
Well,
they checked in with us ahead of time. So
all drones have something called a remote ID, which is a broadcast module or a broadcast signal that's sent from the drone to the FAA. Now, is the FAA constantly monitoring every drone that's in the air? No, but if they suspect a drone is doing illegal activity, they can actually look at the drone's movement and the serial number.
and once again, though, if that's the case,
drone.
then why aren't they saying we know exactly what's going on here and here's the answer? Instead, they're
No,
hedging, or they're not telling us
because when you're looking at the video, there's nothing necessarily outright illegal about the drones that you're seeing in the video.
I understand what you're
unless
saying,
there's some sort of probable cause.
but there's too much talk, and they could squelch all this, and they could eliminate the hypothesis and all of the the crazy stories that are out there by just saying, "Oh, you know what this is? It's that," because we know, because we're able to track this stuff.
Well,
and here you go.
I will tell you, I think there's a lot of people that are more vigilant now. Everybody's scanning to the sky. I think there's also an element of the power of suggestion here, where people are hearing about the story and they're seeing these things fly around, so they assume that it must be a drone. But some of these videos I have seen, it's actually a helicopter or a legitimate plane.
Well, that's obviously a school bus. That's a school bus up in the air coming right towards us. I mean, obviously. All right.
The magic school bus.
Right. All right. We'll end with that. But I got to get weather forecast quickly. I use all our time on drones. Something in the air we are more sure about. Tell me.
Yeah, so we put our final forecast together. You've seen throughout the week we've been talking about these different weather segments, talking about the changes in some of the terminology regarding winter storm warnings, watches, wind chill warnings, all that stuff. But today is kind of the bottom line. What are we expecting for the upcoming winter? And there is Tom
Russo.
Russell.
My notes. Go ahead.
Yeah, talking right there, expecting early cold, which we've got. We're expecting colder second half of December. So that is our temperature graphic there, showing you kind of our expectations. And because of the cold, we're expecting the last 10 days of December. Could certainly see some festive flakes around that time. Brief January thaw, followed by a colder February. And of course, that cold's going to linger into spring. Now, what about precipitation? We were just kind of talking about temperature there. So we'll show you the other graphic. And because of the pattern that we're in, we're not really in a La Nina or an El Nino. We're in more of a neutral pattern, which oftentimes favors a more normal winter for central PA. But the last few winters have been duds. A normal winter around here would actually be more active than usual, especially considering what we've seen the past 6 years. So December snow, which we're expecting, could get a little on Sunday, and then also some for this second half of December, say the last 10 days, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Some mixed bag type events in January, and as typical, February is our snowiest month. We're expecting more of that during the month of February.
I got a translation for you. Burr at the beginning, then you thought that January is going to be a little bit warmer, and then late cold is not something anybody wants to hear. But
that was almost a haiku.
Burr thought January better, late cold said the Ed. There it is. We just
there
did.
You go.
Okay.
I knew you were working on a haiku.
Must be Friday. All right. Hey, I'll see you on TV in just a few minutes. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Thank you, Ed, for all your drone expertise. He drones on and on about drones. It's sort of what he does, and that's why we appreciate what he can tell us about that. Appreciate all you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe and set those notifications for your CBS 21 next cast. There you go. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.